Tie-dye. AJ Mahari here again. Welcome back to the channel, or if you find this for the first time, welcome to the channel. There are so many videos on this channel you might benefit from exploring. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about a comment, respond to a comment that was left on a video I did, some years ago. BPD, NPD, do not love, they abuse you. And the commenter said it was a fascinating discussion in the video. Appreciate that. Hopefully people will find it interesting and helpful. And the commenter said, I wonder if they can feel, people with BPD, can feel love once they have stolen yourself or your identity, or when looking at the world through the mental image of their partner. First of all, people with BPD, PPD, alphabet soup. By the way, if you're still trying to get back with somebody with BPD and or recycling and going around in circles with somebody with BPD, it's, alphabet soup, BPD, codependency, NPD, ASP, etc. And the soup is rancid and you're still eating it. So how are you going to get better? How are you going to feel better? People with BPD are not capable, especially undiagnosed, especially diagnosed but untreated, and even with significant treatment, because until that treatment reaches healed and recovered, as opposed to whatever they mean by remitted, maybe I'll talk about that some other time. It's kind of like, it should be obvious, but it might not be. To all the people who want to know everything about the borderlines, they can be an expert and obfuscate their own recovery. It's not healthy for you. People with BPD cannot love you. And what do I mean by that? Like a healthy adult loves, they can't love, they don't have consistency of feeling, congruence, they don't see you, they don't understand how they affect you, they lack a self, and without a self, they can't love themselves. In fact, most people with BPD really loathe themselves, and so they really can't love you in any consistent, congruent, age-appropriate, mutual or reciprocal way. They can't love you. They're not loving you, no matter how much you think they might be. So this commenter says, I wonder if they can feel love once they've stolen your self or your identity. It doesn't happen. You're losing your identity, or maybe not your whole identity. You're losing yourself to a person with BPD because you have codependency. A lot of people want to hear that. You may have CPTSD from childhood. You may have PTSD from the relationship with a person with BPD. So you're losing yourself, absolutely, like Jade conversations wherein you're justifying, arguing, defending, explaining after you ask the borderline, well, what happened and why did you say this to me or why did you do that? And you're trying to tell them that you need them. You're trying to tell them that you hurt. They're nowhere to be found. And those conversations, every borderline episode in a relationship, you don't get closure to the episode, let alone you're not getting any closure at the end of the relationship. Oh, wait, could be that you're just going to recycle. They're going to hoover you back, or you're going to reverse hoover them, and relationship recycle on and off and on and on. Be no closure across the whole scale of all that experience in which you're losing yourself more and more. But unlike what this commenter asks, no, the borderline doesn't steal yourself. The borderline doesn't take yourself, doesn't incorporate or interject or make themselves you. Not at all. But you're losing yourself. Borderline does not take on your identity. They might be chameleon-like. They may copy you. In the beginning, in idealization, they'll say, oh, yeah, well, whatever your hobbies, interests, I do too. I love that too. Me too. Me too. Sometimes they might be a runner and you're a runner. Sometimes they might like camping and you like camping. But there'll be so many other things, more often than not, that you'll say, and they'll be like, yeah, me too, in the idealization honeymoon phase, if you even get that with somebody with BPD. And then with the first major split to devaluation, all that goes out the window and it isn't coming back. Doesn't matter how many times you relationship recycle, how many times you ask them questions, you don't get closure to any BPD episode, let alone when they say they're done, they need space, they're ghosting you, or you think you've been discarded. You're trying to hoover them back and they're texting, you're texting them, or maybe you're in that illusionary place called I'm no contact now because I don't contact my ex unless they contact me first. That's still reverse hoovering. That's still replying to hoovers. So, as this commenter says, though, maybe a borderline can feel love after they've stolen yourself or your identity. They don't get to do that. You may feel lost to yourself now more than ever before, but in codependency, there's a bit of that there, but people may not realize that till they've been in this type of really incredibly toxic betrayal bonded type relationships. They're just not healthy at all. And so people with BPD are seeking identity through you, identity from you. But that's not exactly how you lose yourself. And the other thing about that is they don't succeed in that. They're trying to do that. They're trying to have you mirror them to them. So they're kind of trying to take identity from you in a way, but that's not successful. They still remain lost. They still have an unstable sense of self and identity. They still really lack a self, and they don't have an identity. This is why when they go on to the next person, or if you wonder if they're cheating on you, you can often tell if they're cheating on you because now they're dressing differently. Now they're listening to different music. Now maybe there's a whole lot of changes in them and what they want to do, because now they're sort of copying and trying to please someone else and seeking identity through someone else. But that is not a successful process. It's just them re-experiencing you, as I've said many times, as the object other parent representation. And in the idealization phase, they don't really see you. You are the object other parent good parent representation, or good parent never had representation. And then, the second that you're not perfect, like the sort of really young, arrested, emotionally developed child inside of them needs perfection and synchronicity, etc., from a parent that they obviously probably didn't get, then they devalue you, and then you become in devaluation the representation of the object other bad parent. And that's all unconscious to people with BPD. They're not aware, now I feel like you're my bad dad. Before I felt like you were my good mom. They don't know that. So that's really more what that seeking identity through you is about. It's unconscious. It doesn't work. And they can't steal your identity. They can certainly, in the dynamics, you're going to lose yourself because you're always trying to please them, think about them, walk on their eggshells. You're ruminating, you're focusing. It's on, it's off, what's going to happen. So you're not even focusing on yourself. And people with codependency have such woundedness from childhood, to varying degrees for each person with codependency, that you don't realize that there's parts of yourself that you are not really in touch with even before you meet the borderline. And that has something to do with how do you get into these type of relationships, or at least one of them. For some people, many, many of them. The commenter says, or could they love you when looking at the world through the mental image of their partner? So first they're going to steal your identity, and they're going to steal yourself. No, they don't. And then the commenter says, well, I guess then they would be looking at the world through the mental image of the partner. No, like a mental image. People with BPD are always looking at the world, if you want to put it that way, through the mental image of what mom did or what dad did, or what mom didn't do, what dad didn't do, what the family system was like, and usually how they were often the scapegoats and how they were often not seen or heard by parents for whatever reasons, and or cluster B parents or a cluster B parent. People with BPD have no ability whatsoever to see the world through your eyes or your mental image. They have already all this damage. They have a fragmented self where the child ego state has totally split apart from the adult and inner parent ego states, as is explained in transactional analysis, rather than get all Freudian on you. Really interesting that somebody, and no offense to the commenter, somebody really believes that people with BPD seeking identity through you, as I've said a lot about, it doesn't work, and they don't get it because they never see you. They don't know who you are. Yes, they know your name, and they might know some things about you, but they're really not paying much attention to you because they need, want from you. To the extent where they can't be satiated, you can't emotionally regulate them with any effectiveness, and you can't soothe them. Borderlines can't soothe themselves. Borderlines can't emotionally regulate themselves. You just can't help them, and they're not ever going to take your identity as such, even though you feel like you're losing yourself. You can find yourself again and know yourself even better, and I'm out here to work with people who want to take that journey and do that healing process that will help you to stop relationship cycling, on and off limbo, rumination. Lots of people have been in these relationships with somebody with BPD. Maybe they've gone no contact and whatnot, and they're trying to move on with their lives, but they don't do the healing and recovery process that each one of you needs after these relationships to find yourself again and to know yourself better than you even did before you lost yourself to the borderline or the dynamics within that betrayal bonded relationship. But there is no way on earth that a borderline is going to have a mental image of anything because they've taken your identity, your attitude, your perceptions, all that you had to give. They don't even take in what you have to give. They don't know how to love. They don't know how to give love. They don't know how to receive your love because they feel totally unworthy of it. And maybe to the extent that you as a codependent might have felt totally unworthy in any moment of a relationship with somebody with BPD because of the way they treated you and what they said to you, not minimizing your pain, but multiply that by about 100. People with BPD are lost to themselves, emotional arrested development before or by the age of 2, as I'm always talking about, because this is the most fundamental thing understood about borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, the emotional arrest and the fragmented off child ego state, the otherwise burgeoning authentic self, which happens for narcissists between through the 3rd year of life or 3 to 5, happens for people with BPD in the first 2 years of life, and often it happens for people who are going to go on to have the patterns of, if not diagnosed or be diagnosed with BPD. It happens often in infancy. They start splitting in infancy. And I'll have much more to say about that probably coming at ajmahari.ca, where there will be some actual ebooks, audio things, and products coming. I have some ebooks there now. They're kind of older. They still stand the test of time if you want to check them out. No, people with BPD are not going to feel love because they can't take your identity, because they can't, I got a puppy approaching here, they can't take your identity and they don't steal yourself, and there's no way that they can align with whatever your mental image of the world or others is, so they don't take that on from partners. Because what happens to people often in childhood, but whether it's perceived or actual abandonment, whether somebody with BPD has a super traumatic childhood or not in the core family of origin, which is about 13% of those with BPD that don't have that really adverse childhood, whereas 87% or so do, then it's like they don't know consciously really what it really means to not know themselves. They don't know how they affect others. They don't take personal responsibility. And a lot of what they do, like, just not answering you because they don't know what to say, splitting because there's people with BPD out there are so wanting to describe why they split now. Oh, they just split because they have to. They just split because that's all they know how to do, which might be true. But when people with BPD give this explanation of splitting online in various ways, writing or on YouTube, they never bother to say, or do they understand at all yet, probably not, how that affects others. They're just like trying to say, you should just accept it because that's what we do. Well, no, you shouldn't, and you should never tolerate it. And it's a big red flag once you're in the relationship at whatever point. It's just another big red flag why you need to get out. Or if they split you, devalue, ghost, slam the door in your face, or it might be a discard, you don't know yet, and they slam the door in your face, you need to accept and radically accept they slammed the door in your face. Why would you want to go back for more? Because if you go back for more, trust me, it's just repeating, rinse, wash, repeat cycles. You're going to get hurt more and more. And all the repetition compulsions of the borderline seeking to get you back, or you seeking to get them back, or crossovers of both, is not going to make that relationship any healthier, any better, or anything other than a betrayal bonded relationship that is impossible to withstand for people with BPD, between their abandonment fears and their engulfment anxiety. And other people, like, this is just going to chew you up and spit you out, and you lose yourself. But make no mistake about it, borderlines don't love. And who do you love? If you're still loving that borderline, who are you loving? Who are they? You don't know anymore, right? And you're trying to get that person back you thought they were. They're not coming back because they never were that person. And I'll go a step further and just saying borderlines aren't faking that. I don't think they're necessarily aware, well, I'm going to pretend to be this person now. It's a chameleon-like thing that they do to try to get somebody to accept them. And then it's not really who they are. So there's no stability there because they don't know who they are. But there's no chance that the borderline actually, as this commenter said, can take on, steals yourself from you, or steals your identity from you, even though you're losing yourself. It's a dynamic thing. It's not they're taking it, and therefore now they're you. Not at all. So no, they don't look at the world through a partner's mental image or lens or perception. They got the borderline personality disorder lens and perception. And it takes 8 to 15 to 16 years plus of therapy to really change and heal all of that for people with BPD. None of this fast, quick fix of this modality or that modality. It's still going to only be BPD management, not living beyond and without borderline personality disorder, which is doable. People are doing it, but higher percentage of people with BPD aren't getting there. And chances are the person that you've been in a relationship with, or you were with, or you might still be ruminating about, and etc., they're not gonna end up getting the kind of therapy for the kind of years in the right modality to really heal. And so that's why you need to get out, and you need to go full no contact. And so they're not gonna see the world. Yeah, they're not gonna find love, the ability to love through other. It just doesn't work that way. If you've been wondering about this, if you'd like to know more, if you'd like to understand BPD more, I'm out here to work with you. I help lots of clients. I answer lots of questions about their person with BPD. When I hear the whole context of each individual person's relationship to somebody with BPD, or are they BPD, NPD, etc., because there's lots of people who just have BPD. They can do incredible things even within a diagnosis of BPD. Every time they do thing ABC over here doesn't mean they're a narcissist too, or a psychopath, or what people are forwarding today that's utter, unproven science, unreplicated studies, and a whole pile of nonsense trying to make BPD biological when it isn't, because when they're studying people with BPD in general, it's not great numbers at a time, but when they study even with the fMRIs, they're looking at a brain that is a little bit different, obviously, than somebody who doesn't have BPD, because they're looking at a brain that they might see a lot of similarities in somebody else that went through a lot of childhood trauma. So they're looking at a traumatized brain, which trauma does create changes in the brain. But healing and being in the right modality of treatment for people with BPD, which is really transference-focused psychotherapy, is the best one, for a number of years, then neuroplasticity can help the brain to rewire itself in ways that help people with BPD to truly change, unlearn all the defense mechanisms, and be taught the things that they need to replace those with, and truly be able to think differently and be able to perceive differently. But until and unless they go through all that treatment, which you can't hang around for, you can't get them to go to, you're losing yourself to them in any relationship or any ongoing, anything after a breakup, or on and off limbo, or recycling these relationships ad infinitum. And no, people with BPD do not take your identity. They do not take on your mental image or perception of life. They do not take on your emotional content. You're losing yourself to them, but no, they don't achieve the ability to love through any of that because they don't have the ability to love from inside where the abyss of is where the self should be. So I hope that that makes sense, and I hope that that might be helpful to somebody, because it's just a misnomer of a lack of understanding the difference between, as I've described, people seeking identity through you, but they can't take your identity. They can help you, and you help yourself too in the dynamics of these trauma bonded relationships to lose yourself, but it doesn't mean you don't still have your identity in there somewhere, and they're still without an identity. So that just isn't even on the table, and they're not going to find their way to love unless they go through more or less 10 to 16 years worth of therapy in transference focused psychotherapy. That is the healing modality.